baby oil, $3. And every faded, chalky, oxidized piece of plastic on your car, every dashboard panel, every door trim, every sun-baked bumper strip is going to look better than it did the day you drove it off the lot. Not just cleaner, not just shinier for a week, conditioned, fed from the inside, with a finish that no Armor All bottle, at any price, in any size, has ever actually produced. Armor All, $8 to $12 a bottle depending on where you buy it. The ingredient inside that does the most important job on your plastic costs, 40 cents to manufacture. You have been paying the rest for the bottle, the shelf space, and 63 years of brand recognition built on a product that fails by design. Stay with me. Because what Armor All is actually putting on your dashboard and what it is doing to the plastic underneath while you believe it is protecting is the part that ends the relationship. You have probably noticed that the shine from Armor All lasts about 4 days, maybe a week if the car stays in a garage. Then the dashboard looks dull again, the trim fades back to gray, you wipe it down, buy another bottle, same result, same timeline, every single time. You probably assumed it was just how automotive plastic worked, that it needed constant product to stay looking good. That is not how plastic works. That is how Armor All works. The shine disappears in 4 to 6 days, every time, without exception. That is not a flaw in the product. That is the product. And the reason it fails on the same schedule, and the reason it actually makes your plastic worse with every application, is coming up. What actually works is something they will never put in that bottle, because you can buy it at a grocery store for $3, and that price makes it worthless to them as a business. The ingredient has been sitting in the baby care aisle, sometimes the cooking aisle, sometimes the pharmacy section, for decades. Professional detailers figured this out a long time ago. What they switched to is exactly what you have probably had under your bathroom sink since your kids were small. The average car owner buys 4 to 6 bottles of Armor, all a year. At $10 a bottle, that is $50 to $60 every single year, for a coating that oxidizes in 4 days and leaves white residue packed into every groove and seam of your interior. Over 10 years, that is $600 for a product that has been slowly making your plastic worse the entire time you used it. That number grows when you run it across a full car. Dashboard, door panels, center console, bumper trim, exterior plastic body panels. We will get there. First, you need to know what you have actually been paying for. Armor, all launched in 1962. That is 63 years on store shelves, and in that entire stretch of time, the number one complaint from consumers has never changed. Sticky dashboard, white powder in the grooves, shine that fades faster after each application than the one before it. They have never answered that complaint, not once, not in 6 decades. And the reason they have never answered it is because answering it would require admitting what the product actually is. The main active ingredients in Armor, all original protectant, are silicone compounds. Dimethicone is the primary one. Think of it like a coat of wax painted onto the outside of a sealed jar. It sits on the surface, it reflects light, it looks like protection, but it never goes into the jar. It never contacts what is inside. It just sits there on top, giving the appearance of work it is not doing. That is dimethicone. That is what you have been pressing into your dashboard for years, believing it was going somewhere useful. There are 2 completely different things you can do to a piece of plastic. You can coat it, or you can condition it. Those are not the same thing. They do not produce the same result. And one of them has been slowly destroying your interior from the first bottle you ever opened. Coating is fast. Coating reflects light and looks good in a photograph. Coating makes a surface feel smooth for 3 to 5 days before it starts oxidizing, going tacky, and attracting every particle of dust floating inside the car. Conditioning is slower. It does not produce a dramatic wet shine, but it feeds what the plastic is actually missing, the compounds that UV light and heat pull out of the material every single day. When those are gone, the plastic oxidizes. When plastic oxidizes, it fades to gray, becomes brittle at the edges, and chalks white under the summer sun. Conditioning replaces what was lost. Coating covers the evidence and charges you $12 for the privilege. The chemistry behind this is even more damaging to their business. Do you trust your tap water? The government and water companies are leaving dangerous toxins behind. Independent studies show chemicals they aren't even testing for. Your health is in your hands, not theirs. Stop paying for poisoned water. My guide reveals a $1 method to get 100% pure water at home. Scan the QR code or click the link below to get your free copy now. Then the price gap. That is what comes next. Plastic is not a dead material. Automotive plastic, especially the ABS and polypropylene panels lining the inside and outside of your car, is full of chemical compounds that keep it flexible, resistant to UV radiation and dark in color. Heat pulls them out. Sun pulls them out. Every time you park in a hot lot or drive with the windows up in summer, a small amount escapes through the surface. Over months and years, the plastic gets drier, more porous, more brittle and lighter in color. That grayish, chalky look on old bumper trim you have seen on cars over 10 years old, that is not paint fading. That is plastic that has lost what it was built to hold. When you apply Armor All, you are doing one thing. You're laying a thin film of silicone over that porous, depleted surface. The surface is still gray underneath. The pores are still open and empty and dry. But now they have a silicone cap on them, and light bouncing off that cap is what you are calling shine. 4 days later, sometimes less in a car that parks in direct sun, the silicone oxidizes. It goes from clear to slightly hazy. It turns tacky. Dust sticks to it. Your next application of armor all goes on top of that layer, and the layer before it, and the one before that. After a year of regular Armor All use, you can see visible white buildup packed into every seam, every groove, every textured line in your dashboard and door panels. That is not road dust. That is your product. Stacked, oxidized, never absorbed, going nowhere. The reason the cheap version works better is something you have already seen today in your own kitchen. Stay with me, and I will show you exactly where. You have seen what happens when someone rubs mineral oil into a dry wooden cutting board. The wood is parched and gray. The grain is open. You press the oil in with your palm and the wood goes dark. The grain tightens. The color returns as if it was always there, just buried. That is not coating. The oil went into the wood. It replaced what the wood had lost. It saturated the grain and settled in, and the board stays dark and protected for months because the oil is inside it, not sitting on top. Armor. All cannot do that. Silicone cannot penetrate a solid surface. It can only coat. It sits on top of the plastic the same way gloss paint sits on the outside of a fence. It might look good from the road, but the wood underneath has not been fed anything. The second place you have seen this is on your own hands on a dry winter morning. You know the difference between the lotion that actually absorbs and the one that just sits on your skin for an hour and wipes off on your phone screen. The kind that absorbs goes in. Your skin pulls it down, and within 20 minutes you cannot tell it was ever there, except your hands are no longer cracked. The kind that does not absorb coats the surface, makes your hands feel slippery, and by the next morning it is gone without a trace. Armor. All is the second kind. Baby oil, mineral oil, is the first. Plastic absorbs it the same way dry wood does. The same way dry skin does. It goes in. It stays. And the thing that stops most people from getting that result is one step at the very beginning. Not the ingredient, not the amount you use, not which surfaces you apply it to. One decision made in the first 60 seconds before the oil ever touches the car. Getting it wrong means the oil cannot penetrate at all. The surface stays coated instead of conditioned. The result looks mediocre within a week. Getting it right means the result holds for 3 to 4 months without a single reapplication. Most people who try this get the first step wrong, and that step is the difference between a result that looks like a new car and one that turns slightly white in the grooves by the following weekend. Here is what you need. I want to be honest with you about every number. Baby oil. The plain kind. Fragrance free if you can find it, but fragrance is a cosmetic ingredient, and the mineral oil underneath is what matters, so it is not critical. A standard 16-ounce bottle costs $2 to $3 at any grocery store, pharmacy, or general merchandise retailer. Baby care aisle, sometimes skincare. Store brand works identically to Johnson's. Same ingredient, different label, different price by about $1. Microfiber cloths. You need 2, one for cleaning and one for the oil. If you do not own any, a 6-pack costs $3 to $4. You probably already have at least one from washing the car or cleaning the bathroom. Isopropyl alcohol, 70% concentration, the standard pharmacy bottle. It costs under $2 for 16 ounces. If you keep a first aid kit in the house, you own this already. A small spray bottle, 8 ounces or less. If you do not have one, $1 at any dollar store. There is almost certainly one in a cleaning cabinet in your house right now. That is it. Under $10 total if you own absolutely nothing on that list. Under $4 if you already have microfiber cloths. Compare that to the last time you stood at the auto parts store shelf and picked up an Armor All bottle without thinking. You will not need to buy anything again for at least a year. Here is the one thing most people get wrong. They apply baby oil directly to a surface that still has Armor All residue on it, or silicone buildup, or dust and grime that has been sealed under 2 years of product layers. And what happens is exactly what you would expect if you tried to push water into a clogged drain. The oil cannot penetrate. It sits on top of the old silicone barrier and reflects light for a few days, exactly like Armor All would. You think the baby oil method failed? It did not fail. You blocked the door before you tried to walk through it. The fix takes 4 minutes, and it is the step everything else depends on. Mix isopropyl alcohol and water in your spray bottle. Half and half. If you want to be precise, 7 parts water to 3 parts alcohol, roughly the proportion of a full coffee mug with a generous splash of vodka in it. That is your stripping solution. It dissolves silicone. It lifts old product residue. It opens the plastic surface back up. Step 1. Take your first microfiber cloth. Spray the alcohol solution onto the cloth, not directly onto the surface. This gives you control. Wipe down every panel you plan to treat, using firm, even pressure. Work in straight lines, left to right. You're dissolving the old silicone layer and lifting it off the surface rather than spreading it around. If you have heavy white buildup packed into the seams, that thick, waxy residue sitting in the grooves of your dashboard or door trim, spray the solution directly into the seam, let it sit for 30 seconds, and scrub with the corner of the cloth folded to a point. You will see the residue lift and come away on the cloth. The panel will look worse for a moment before it looks better. Dull, almost chalky. That is correct. The silicone coating is gone and what you're seeing is the bare plastic underneath. Keep going. Work one panel at a time. Do not wipe half a panel and move on. Every centimeter of surface needs to be clear of product before the oil goes on. Let it dry completely. This is where most people who rush lose the result. Isopropyl alcohol evaporates fast, 2 to 3 minutes per panel at room temperature. But if you move to the oil step before the surface is fully dry, you are sealing alcohol vapor under the oil, and the finish will look cloudy, uneven, and wrong. Press the flat of your palm against the cleaned panel. If it feels cool, the surface is still drying. The alcohol is still evaporating and pulling heat from the plastic as it goes. If it feels neutral, the same temperature as the air, it is ready, not before. When it feels neutral, the surface is bare, clean, dry, and open. Now the oil has somewhere to go. Step 2. Pour a small amount of baby oil onto your second clean microfiber cloth. You want the cloth damp, not soaked. About the size of a 20-cent coin worth of oil. Slightly less than your first instinct, you can add more. You cannot remove what is already absorbed. Work the oil into the surface using small circular motions. The same motion you would use to work conditioner into leather. Firm pressure. You're not wiping across the surface, you're pressing the oil into the pores of the plastic. Think about the difference between spreading butter on toast and pressing butter into bread. The spreading stays on top. The pressing goes in. That is the motion. Work one panel completely before moving to the next. You will see the color shift as you go. Faded gray plastic going dark, chalky, oxidized surface going rich and even. That is not surface shine. That is the plastic absorbing oil and the depth of color returning, because the pores that were empty are no longer empty. What comes next is the step most people skip. It is the only one that makes everything before it permanent. Pay close attention. After you work the oil into each panel, wait 5 to 8 minutes before touching it again. Set a timer. The oil is still moving. The plastic is still pulling it inward. The deeper it absorbs, the longer the result holds. If you buff the excess off, immediately after application, you remove oil that has not yet had time to absorb, and you get a shallow result that fades faster than it should. If you let it sit, the plastic draws in as much as it can hold, and only the unabsorbed excess stays sitting on the surface when the timer goes off. 5 to 8 minutes. Not 5 to 8 seconds. Every panel. After the wait, take a dry section of your cloth and buff any remaining oil off the surface. Light pressure this time. Straight lines instead of circles. You are removing only what the plastic could not absorb. The thin film that did not go anywhere. What stays behind is conditioned plastic. Dark, even, and consistent. No wet gloss, no artificial sheen, just the deep, natural color the plastic carried when it was new and full of what it was supposed to hold. Step 3, do your check before you move on. Press the pad of your index finger flat against the panel and drag it slowly across 3 to 4 inches of surface. If you feel resistance, a slight drag against the texture, the oil is absorbed and the surface is clean and done. If your finger slides like it is on glass, there is still excess oil sitting on the surface. Buff again with a dry section of the cloth. Work it until you feel drag. When you feel drag, the panel is finished. Move to the next one. Take your time through the dashboard, the door panels, the center console, the A-pillar and B-pillar trim, the plastic housing around the instrument cluster, any hard vinyl surface inside the car. Then go to the exterior if you have faded bumper aprons, wheel arch trim, or unpainted plastic body panels along the lower body. The process is exactly the same outside. Just make sure the surface is dry before you start. No morning dew, no water from a recent wash. Now run the actual numbers. 1 bottle of Armor. All lasts about 8 applications on a full interior before it runs out. At $10 a bottle, that is $1.25 per treatment. You treat the car every 3 to 4 weeks because the result genuinely does not hold longer than that. In a calendar year, that is 15 to 17 treatments. $15 to $20 a year, minimum, on interior plastic alone. And that is one car. A $3 bottle of baby oil gives you more applications than you will need in a full year for one car. You treat the car every 3 to 4 months, not every 3 to 4 weeks, because the oil lasts. The plastic holds it. $3 a year against $20 a year for Armor All. That is a gap of $17 on a single product category for a single car. It sounds modest until you add the exterior. If you have faded unpainted plastic on the bumpers, the wheel arches, or the rocker panels, Armor All is not designed for long-term outdoor exposure. The silicone oxidizes in direct UV within a week. Baby oil on exterior unpainted plastic. Holds for 6 to 8 weeks per application, even in direct sun, because the oil is deep enough in the plastic that surface oxidation cannot reach it before it has already done the work. One $3 bottle covers an entire car's exterior plastic for a full year at 2-month intervals. Compare that to the dedicated trim restorer most people buy for faded exterior plastic. $15 to $25 a bottle, same application frequency as Armor All, same silicone-based mechanism, same temporary result. One car, interior and exterior, 1 year. You go from $80 to $100 in plastic care products to $3. That is not a marginal improvement. That is not a cheaper brand of the same thing. That is a fundamentally different category of product, doing a fundamentally different job for a fraction of the price. Over 5 years, that gap is close to $500 for one car. Over a lifetime of owning cars, no subscription, no loyalty program, no reformulated version every 2 years that requires you to throw out what you have and buy the new bottle. A $3 bottle of baby oil on your garage shelf, replaced once a year. That is the entire system. Now the honest part. Baby oil, mineral oil, is excellent for hard plastic, ABS trim, polypropylene panels, and vinyl. It is not the right answer for every surface or every condition, and you should know the exceptions before you start. If your dashboard is already cracking and splitting, if the surface integrity is gone and plastic is peeling away in sections, oil will not reverse that damage. It will slow future cracking and restore some color, but it cannot fill a physical fracture. A surface that far gone needs a vinyl repair compound applied professionally before any conditioning makes sense. Baby oil on glass is a serious problem. It smears, hazes, and is extremely difficult to fully strip off a windshield. Never let the cloth you're using on the panels touch any glass surface. Keep a separate cloth for any cleaning near windows. Baby oil on fabric or carpet leaves a stain that does not come out easily. This product is for hard surfaces only. Seat upholstery, carpet, and headliner are out. Baby oil does not condition leather the way it conditions plastic. Leather needs lanolin or a dedicated leather conditioner to stay supple. Mineral oil gives leather a temporary surface shine, but does not penetrate the hide the way it penetrates porous plastic and vinyl. If you have leather seats, keep the oil off them and use a proper leather conditioner instead. On very deeply textured plastic, surfaces with a pronounced raised grain or heavy stippling pattern, there's a small chance that excess oil can pool in the recesses if you do not buff thoroughly. After your wait period, pay attention to the deepest parts of the texture during the buff step. If oil is sitting in the grain, work it out with the corner of the dry cloth. Oil trapped in deep texture does not absorb as well as oil on a flat surface and can attract dust in a way the treated flat panels will not. For those specific situations, cracked surfaces, leather seating, deeply textured outdoor trim in extreme climates, a purpose-built product is the right call. That is a real, honest answer. But the flat dashboard panels, the door trim strips, the console sides, the plastic handles, the bumper aprons, the wheel arch trim, none of that needs anything more than what is in that $3 bottle. That Armor, all on your shelf right now, the one you bought a few weeks ago, the one with the pump or the spray nozzle, the one you have reached for without thinking for years, you know what is in it now. You know the silicone sits on top and never goes deeper. You know the white residue packed into your dashboard seams is layer after layer of oxidized silicone that has never been removed. You know the 4-day shine cycle is not plastic behaving badly. It is coating behaving exactly as it was designed, wearing off just fast enough that you reach for the bottle again. The plastic in your car was always asking for oil, not silicone, not a patent-protected proprietary blend. Oil, the same mineral oil pressed into cutting boards for generations, the same compound that conditions dry skin, the same ingredient in every good vinyl conditioner ever made, regardless of what name is on the front of the bottle. Armor, all answered that request with silicone for 63 years because silicone creates a result you can photograph, market, and sell at a price point that mineral oil can never compete with. And that arithmetic, not any secret, not any conspiracy, is the entire story. Baby oil was always cheaper, always on a shelf in a store you were already walking through, always doing the job they told you needed a formula with a brand name on it. The detailers who figured this out kept using it because when you work on cars for a living, $60 a year versus $3 a year is not a small thing multiplied across a fleet. It is the difference between profit and overhead. I don't know what brought you here. It doesn't matter. It works either way.